Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to be talking about how to rebuild and repair your gut lining. So when your intestinal lining gets scraped up, gets damaged, gets open lesions on it, you tend to get a lot of digestive issues. So you can get constipation, diarrhea, you get blood or mucus in your stools, you can get severe abdominal pain. You can also get a lot of nutrient deficiencies from this that lead to a host of other issues, including a lot more different digestive issues. So a lot of people that have gotten digestive issues have this issue of a scraped up, damaged gut lining. But if you have ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, you 100% have this issue and should definitely keep on watching. So if you have this damage on your gut lining, what you really need to understand is what is causing that damage so that you can eliminate it and eliminate these things that keep re-damaging your gut lining so it can finally start to heal. There's one more thing that you really need here, and that's going to be to understand what foods, nutrients, and practices will help to accelerate that healing. So you're going to remove what's damaging your gut and then include different things to accelerate your healing. And I will talk about all the details of how to do that in this video. If you don't know me already, my name is Kaylee. I'm a certified nutritionist and gut health specialist, and I love helping people to heal their chronic gut issues at the root using very natural and holistic practices like ancestral nutrition and some other holistic practices. So let's get into it. First, let's go over what damages your gut lining. So your gut lining is about one cell layer thick, and it separates the contents of your digestive tract with your bloodstream and the rest of your body. This is really important because it keeps pathogens and bacteria and parasites and other toxins and unwanted things out of your bloodstream and the rest of your body, and it keeps that in your digestive tract so those things can be removed in your bowel movements. But these cells have little channels in them that allow nutrients and all the things we want from our food to get into our body. So this is a very important part of digestion and health in general. So another thing I want to mention here is that our gut lining is not like a straight line. Instead, it's very like wiggly. And on those wiggles, there are more tiny wiggles. So these are called villi, the first wiggles, and then the squiggles on the wiggles are called microvilli. And the whole purpose here is to increase the surface area of your small intestine so you can absorb more nutrients. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this is because when we get these lesions and these damage on our gut lining, it wears away those villi and microvilli and majorly cuts down on the surface area of your small intestine, thus making it so much harder for you to absorb nutrients, and that causes so many nutrient deficiencies. You need nutrients to heal your body, so it makes it a lot harder to heal as well. So what exactly damages your gut lining? The first thing is going to be too much fiber. Now here I'm talking more about insoluble fibers like cellulose. So these are going to be the rougher fibers, like when you're eating something like celery or kale, you just get that big mash of plants in your mouth that you can't really chew all the way. That's like an extreme example of what fiber and cellulose is going to be like. So this is very rough on our gut lining, especially if you already have damage. If you have a perfectly healthy gut, you can absolutely tolerate some of this. But when you already have these open sores, it's kind of like when you get a little scab. Like I have a little scab on my hand right now from burning my hand in the oven. But when I have this little open scab right here, it's so much more prone to get hurt. So when I accidentally scratch it or bump it on things, it hurts really bad. And it's the exact same thing inside of your gut lining. We have these little open scabs and wounds. They're not really scabbed yet. We have these open wounds in our digestive tract, and they're really, really sensitive. So if you have a lot of fiber and undigested food coming in, it's going to really scrape at that lining and make it even harder to heal. So we don't want to go too crazy with fiber, and we especially want to avoid fibers from things like grains and raw veggies, like leafy greens, like chewy kind of veggies. Anything like that is going to be really damaging. So then the second thing is going to be anti-nutrients, and I want to highlight lectins here. So all anti-nutrients, or at least the majority of them, are going to be damaging to our gut, but but lectins is a huge one. This is found in things like grains, nuts, seeds, legumes. It's also found in like tomatoes and nightshades and some other foods like that too. But the highest anti-nutrient foods are going to be grains, seeds, nuts, and legumes. So those are the ones I really recommend that you either cut out or that you only consume properly prepared, so soaked, sprouted, or fermented, to reduce the anti-nutrients and make it easier on your body. If you have Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, it's really best to just cut those out for the time being until you can tolerate them. But yeah, those are going to be the high anti-nutrient foods. Lectins are notorious for scraping at your gut lining as well, just like I was talking about with fiber. So we really, really want to limit these. Also, I have a whole video about lectins I just made. So if you want to hear more about those, I will link that up. Now, third is going to be environmental toxins. So this is going to be things like pesticides, pollution, heavy metals, and all sorts of other toxins like that. It can be in tap water, it can be in the environment, it can be in furniture. There are so many sources for environmental toxins. These are also going to damage and scrape at your gut lining, so it's really important to minimize these as much as possible. And overarching with these three things, what you want to remember is you can handle some. You just want to do your best to really limit them so that you are cutting out as much as possible of these things that continue to scrape at your gut lining and really keep those scabs open or create more and more wounds in there. Another thing to note real quick is stress is also going to make this worse. It's going to make it harder to heal, and it's just going to make the whole process worse. So managing stress is really important too. So let's go over the second key to repairing your gut lining, and that is including foods, nutrients, and practices that will accelerate healing. So your cells in your intestinal lining are actually replaced every few days. So this does give your body a pretty rapid turnover and the potential to heal pretty quickly when you do start to cut out those things that are damaging your gut lining. However, we just do so much better when we include some of these things that really help to accelerate the healing. So we're going to go over that now. The first one is going to be to include meat stock or bone broth. The reason for this is that it's really high in collagen and glycine, which are anti-inflammatory and also key for repairing damage in the body, especially damage to your intestinal lining. So it will just provide the nutrients it needs to heal up those wounds, to give your gut lining a really healthy lining, and to decrease any inflammation that's there as well. Now, whether you should choose meat stock or bone broth depends on where you're at in your healing journey. So if you want to learn which one's better for you, check out this video I have up here on meat stock versus bone broth. Now, the second one is going to be to include vitamin A, specifically the animal form of vitamin A, which is called retinol, opposed to the plant form, which is called beta carotene. Now, the reason that we want retinol vitamin A, not beta carotene, is because our body has to convert plant vitamin A, so things like carrots and sweet potatoes, into retinol before it can function, and we're just not very good at converting, so a lot of it is wasted in the process, and you don't end up actually getting that much retinol vitamin A at the end of the day from carrots and sweet potatoes. So it's much better to get it from animal foods like butter, liver, cod liver oil, eggs, cheeses, things like that. So this is also just going to be really, really beneficial for healing your gut lining. Vitamin A is crucial for that. So that's going to be another one. Now, the third one is to include healthy fats. This is another nutrient that is very, very important for healing your gut lining. So you're going to want to choose things like butter, other animal fats, could be ghee, dairy if you're tolerating it. But if you have this issue, you might not be tolerating dairy at the moment. I guess butter and ghee are too, but sometimes you can still tolerate that if you can't tolerate milk. Otherwise, you can go for lard, you can go for tallow. Any of those really good animal fats is going to be a great option. Eggs, cheese, if you can tolerate it, again, is going to be good. Fatty fish. You can use a really good quality olive oil as well, but generally I would go for the animal fats as much as possible. The fourth one is to eat a nutrient-rich diet. So I've highlighted a few nutrients that are really important for healing: collagen, vitamin A, and fats, but really we need all of our nutrients to heal and to function optimally in the body. So you do want to eat a diet that is rich in all the nutrients you need. My main tip for this is going to be to eat a nose to tail diet. So to eat muscle meats, to eat organ meats, to eat the bones or connective tissue in some sort of way, like bone broth or bone marrow, and then to eat some seasonal fruits and veggies, eat eggs, eat dairy or seafood as well. If you can't tolerate dairy, go for more seafood. Both of those are kind of similar in nutrients. So by starting there, that's a great place to include lots of nutrients. There's a lot more caveats and little things we can get into to really make sure you have all your nutrients in, but that is just a really easy starting place. Now, the fifth one is going to be managing stress. Like I mentioned earlier, stress will just make it so much harder for your body to heal. It will further damage your gut sometimes. And then also it wastes and burns through a lot of nutrients you need in order to heal. And it also keeps you in the sympathetic nervous state, which is when you're more stressed. It's the fight or flight state as opposed to the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. And you have to be in the parasympathetic state in order to start healing and repairing your body. So it's really important to get a handle on stress. I know that just reduce stress or manage your stress is not helpful advice at all. So if you want more practical tips on decreasing your stress and managing stress as it comes up, check out this video I have up here. Now, the sixth one is going to be fasting. Now, you do not have to do giant long fasts. Those are only good for certain types of people and they're not great for everyone, but just some sort of intermittent fasting is going to be helpful. This does not have to be 16 hours of fasting, 8-hour eating window like is commonly said. You can absolutely do that, but even a 12 to 12 is going to be really helpful. The point here is to give your intestines a break from having to work so your body can really focus on healing them. So obviously you're going to have this overnight, but if you can extend this time a little bit longer, you're just going to give your body more time to work on healing those damaged cells, creating new cells in your intestinal lining, and just making everything function well again. So in this video, I talked about repairing damage to the intestinal lining. However, I didn't cover leaky gut, which is when you actually get those gaps between the cells in your gut lining. And that is another thing that is very common with people that have the gut lining damage I was talking about. So if you want to learn more specifically about leaky gut, I will leave a video on the screen at the end that talks more about how to heal leaky gut at the root. So you can check that out if you want. Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing so that you can learn more about how to heal your gut in a natural way, and also consider liking and leaving me a comment down below. I always appreciate that. Thanks again for watching.